I thought it'd be a little early today instead of walking in right at like 30 like I usually do. Yeah, way early.
I left mine at home for that particular reason.
Mine is like a third appendage.
Whatever that means.
You want me to see me roll my eyes at you, Tom?
Sitting around for this junior college, senior high school.
It'll be good. It'll be all right.
I was glad we didn't meet last week. You'd have missed
We
too.
do. This is his
Was it?
initiation.
Yeah, well, I had a
Couldn't have planned it
game
better.
somewhere, and I don't want to miss, but I can't miss it. That was the only stipulation when I accepted the appointment was I can't miss games. Which I would only miss one meeting.
This is the one to be at?
Yes, definitely.
Letter of resignation tomorrow.
No, you're right. That
Maybe a whole bunch.
We do have some meetings that only last about 2 minutes.
That'd have been the night the Maxwell Maywood Center went to overtime.
Okay, yeah.
5:26.
Wasn't that bad. I got off easy.
5:26. We got this much people sitting in here waiting.
There's just a few in the hallway too.
I know. I was just gonna stand out there, but they said that my seat was saved in there, so.
I was like, really? What a shame. What a shame. Darn plaques.
That's all right. I enjoy it. I don't get out of my office
Yes.
much and deal with
Yes.
other people anyway. I'll be bored it's only once a month. I'll be bored when it's over.
Todd.
She's me older, so she's getting my back in my head. Did you hear he has he bought mine So anyway, Dawson. Yeah, you guys are gonna broadcast baseball.
Yep, channel will do it.
Just what he needed.
I think that'd be a long day.
Well, since I met him. So I got to think of, I've been track meet since my daughter was a freshman, so I'm sitting there not
Oh,
thinking
and I
of it. But
suppose
then
we
when I
need
saw
to end the
baseball, I'm
meeting
like,
by saying goodbye to
what
Travis.
happens if we broadcast track?
You need a lot of filler information, that's for sure.
No.
I know Tanner has a lot for baseball, and it'd be even worse for
That's
track.
new business.
Well, and
Tell all of us.
supposedly they're all double headers.
Yeah.
So is he gonna do both games? It's like 4 hours of
Yeah.
airtime?
Yep. Well, but he does the Legion games, so.
Right, but they're not always, well, I guess they're.
Yeah, not always, but most of the time they are.
Yeah.
So he's used to it. At least now he'll be able to fill school information. Not going to be hard to pick up a little bit on Maxwell or St. Pat's. I'm excited.
Are you?
Who's going to be the assistant coach? They said?
Brad Braithwaite,
Oh, Coach Diaz. Okay.
because he's not doing track.
He's not.
I think well, he was
He was the head boys coach.
I think Stanicki's just doing it all.
Oh, is he? He's
One
going
more
to be the
minute.
boys
And then,
now.
of course, they always have one.
When you press the button.
Oh yeah, plenty of there that yeah.
Yeah, I think he's just doing overall head.
Sure. Head track coach, then everybody else will do
Because
their-
I know Josh came home the other day and he says, Coach Stanicki says I
Yes.
can't throw discus. I go, why not? It's because I need to run. And I told him, I said, are you in the top 3 of discus? He goes, yep. You're throwing discus to me.
Yeah, I would. Who's because Coach Carpenter teach the throw? So I would imagine that he'll have something to say about that.
Well, and Josh is.
One. He still says 5.
Alex. He'd been
Go ahead and get that on.
He's got the long arm.
Well, he's got long arms. He's quick. He just spit it out. That's what Josh is. He's just quick.
About 30 seconds.
Alex would never do it. Well, this year he's doing it. He has no clue what he's doing. So Josh, like, if you figure out this, he's all about. Oh, there you go. It's a hazelnut.
Yeah,
He's using all strength
There's some
right now.
footwork that goes into that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Josh. 7th grade. Eighth grade, they had that.
Still says 5:49.
Stinson.
There you go, 5:30.
Oh, yes.
The March meeting of the North Platte Planning Commission will come to order.
Really?
First of all, ordinarily, we are not live streamed. This is the first time that I'm aware that the North Platte Planning Commission is being live streamed on YouTube, I believe, and so we've got an audience other than the people who are here. I would ask the commissioners to keep your mic on at all times, okay? Second thing I would like to do before we do roll call is to welcome Jeff Bain, who is the newest member to the Planning Commission. This is his first meeting with us. Thank you for serving on the Planning Commission, and we welcome you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Judy, would you do roll call, please?
Sure. Davies,
Here.
Winder,
Here.
Fudge, Bain,
Here.
Weber,
Here.
McGann,
Here.
Jett,
Here.
Cruz,
Here.
and Hurt.
Here.
Okay, a quorum is present.
Thank you. A current copy of the Open Meetings Act of Nebraska is posted at the back of the council chambers. For those of you who are here, the Planning Commission values your input, and we want to hear from you. During the public hearings, anyone wishing to speak must first be recognized by the chair, that's me. Once recognized, you approach the podium, state your name and your address, and then we'll hope that because our agenda is very long and we would like to hear from as many people as possible, that you keep your comments to less than 3 minutes. Repetitive and excessively long testimony can be ended at my discretion, or the discretion of the chair, again, me. Okay, we're ready to go. I assume that you have had an opportunity to read the minutes of the last meeting, and then I need a motion to approve.
I motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
That was a motion by Tristan and a second by Don. All those in favor? Oh, you got to do roll call, sorry.
Ready? Winder,
Yes.
Bain,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
McGann,
Yes.
Jett,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
and Davies.
Yes.
And minutes are approved. Our third agenda item is a presentation and discussion, no action, a presentation and discussion of the 1 and 6 year road plan by Brent Birkland, the city engineer. And Brent.
Good evening, good to see everybody. I know everyone is probably not here to see me, but the purpose of this evening is to communicate with the planning team and the planning and zoning, the plan that we've been working on as the city for the city streets. And what we have is a 1 year and a 2 through 6 year. The 2 through 6 is just prioritize longer term. And many of the council that have heard and approved this at the last council meeting, some of this will be repetitive, but this is the third time we've had a public meeting to discuss it, to try to communicate to as many people as possible what we're looking at on the city. Judy, would you go to the next slide for me, please? The first slide on the screen, you might be able to see a little bit. It's this board right here. But this shows what was completed and also what we're looking at for the next year as far as projects go. What we have in green is the downtown rehabilitation, the concrete work that probably a lot of you have been able to see. That was finished up this last fiscal year. And then what we have shown down here in green, those are some asphalt overlays down on State Farm and also Twin Rivers Road in the industrial park that was extended. The red areas, those are what are showing for coming. Lakeview Boulevard we have shown for this coming year to get going on extending that, to widening it. Right now it's an asphalt county road, or changing it to an urban section, so it'll be a 3-lane, 38-foot wide concrete facility. William and Union, that was finished up by the city this year, City Forces, that's an intersection. And then the other red areas that we have shown is West Brentwood, Reed, William, and Sunrise. Those 4 streets are developer paid for, private paid for, that will be city streets when they're completed. We have 2 dashed areas. The one-ways, that's a state-city cooperative project from the standpoint the cities, or the state's doing the work, and on an 80-20 basis, the city's paying 20%. And the design is going on right now with South Jeffers, and that's going from approximately First Street down to Leota, and there'll be a year break, and then they will go back up Dewey. So those are imminent on the horizon in the next couple of years on the one-ways. And then we have, excuse me, West 9th Street from Sherman over to Buffalo, and that is an asphalt narrow road that we're going to upgrade to a city street as well. And that's in the design for this year, and it'll be towards the end of this year as soon as we can get going on it. And then the following year, we're looking at bidding and building it. So this is the one-year plan of what we've completed and also what we're proposing looking at. And over on the next slide, Judy, would you switch to the next one? This is the 6-year program. And again, this has the range of desires. On the short term, we have some things we're looking at the 2, 3, 4-year range, and then we have items that might be more in the 20 to 50-year range. And I'm not going to cover all of them, but just to give you an idea of some highlights. We have like the State Farm Road, that gives you an idea of a longer term road depending on development. That section could be upgraded to an urban section. That's not in the 3 to 5 year range. It might be developer driven, or it could be in the 10 to 20 year range. Also, we have some areas up on Rodeo Road area where we'd like to do some work on improving the ditch area, that drainage ditch. That's something in the longer term that we'd like to look at as well. And we have shown on that, it's on the 2 to 6 year. In the 2 year, we have the construction of West 9th Street. So I just wanted to provide a summary, and specifically for the Planning Commission, you're familiar with some of the projects because they've come through here, like Brentwood, William, Twin Rivers Road, Sunrise. Those are all part of the subdivision process. So you guys have been able to see it. So I wanted to present a little bit on what we're seeing for development, but also what we're looking at for some of the projects on the city side. What we're really focused on this year, we've been working with administration and the street department on trying to get some asphalt milling. It's not shown on either one of these because it makes the drawing so busy with the lines that we'd like to do. But we were focusing on busy arterial streets or collector streets to get some asphalt overlays, working on, like the example, Leota on Walmart side on the south, Francis on the north side, those asphalt streets, B Street from the ones going west and east. There's several areas that we wanted to do some asphalt. They call it mill and fill. You mill it and then fill it with new hot mix. That's not shown on here, but I think that you should have that in your packet. Just to kind of give you an idea that it doesn't really impact planning directly, but it's kind of good information to have as a big picture. So I just wanted to give a highlight of what we've been looking at, give you guys get you up to speed on what we've been looking at. If you guys have any questions for me on the 1 and 6 plan, we'll remove the barriers for visual as soon as I'm finished here, unless Lee wants it.
Does anyone have any questions?
And if you do, if you're like me, you might think of questions afterwards. Feel free to catch me, email me, call me, whatever later. That's not a problem at all. So, thanks everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 4 is a public hearing, file number AM 21-003, to discuss and consider action on an amendment to the City of North Platte Code of Ordinances, Chapter 156, Section 156.352, relating to design standards for parking lots, particularly regarding lighting and lighting performance standards. And you have information in your packet on that. Judy?
Okay, you should have all received a copy of the review comments, and then attached is a copy of the ordinance that, if it is recommended to pass, will be sent on to the city council. Over the past several months, there has been some discussion regarding development of commercial properties that are adjacent to residential properties, and in an effort to make those more compatible, Both Planning Commission and staff has worked towards amending the current lighting regulations to ensure commercial properties do not pose a detriment to neighboring residential uses. As stated in the ordinance, the purpose of the parking lot lighting is to provide adequate visibility within the parking lot and to also enhance the security and safety of parking lot users. It should not cause an interference to traffic on public thoroughfares or encroach on the visual privacy of adjacent residents. Planning staff has no objections to the proposed amendment. If you do have any questions, I did ask Brent Birkeland to stick around. He's kind of more the lighting expert than I am, but if you have any questions, he'd be happy to answer, or I can.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so if anyone in the audience would like to speak to this issue, come to the podium and tell us your name and your address and what you have to share with us in a couple of minutes. No one? Anyone out in the hallway?
Anybody want to come and speak through the podium?
Okay.
Did they have to register first?
No.
No.
They didn't have to register first. Okay, I'll speak. Okay, my name is Judy Powell. I'm a citizen of North Platte forever. And we're here for the meat packing plant, correct?
No.
Oh.
This is the public hearing on the amendment to the city ordinance
Okay.
regarding lighting.
Lighting.
Yep.
This is item number 4. Yours will be item number 11.
Okay, excuse me, I'll wait my turn.
All right, thank you. I need a motion to close, unless there's someone else. All right, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Lee moved and Tristan seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Bain.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
McGann.
Yes.
Jett.
Yes.
Cruz.
Yes.
Hurt.
Yes.
Davies.
Yes.
And Winder.
Yes.
Okay, the public hearing is closed, and for everybody's information, again, with a public hearing, Planning Commission can speak amongst themselves. We do not address the audience or ask them to speak at this time.
Anyone have any questions or comments?
I think this is the thing we've been over like 3 times now.
Yes,
So,
we've-
yeah, I think we've talked this enough.
Been in front of us
Yes.
in December and then again in January. And
Right.
So,
Yep.
okay, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve an amendment to the City of North Platte Code of Ordinances, Chapter 156, Section 156.352, relating to design standards for parking lots, particularly regarding lighting and lighting performance standards.
Is there a second?
Second?
Motion by Nelson, second by Don. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Bain.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
McGann.
Yes.
Jett.
Yes.
Cruz.
Yes.
Hurt.
Yes.
Davies.
Yes.
Winder.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. This will be on the City Council agenda April 6th as a public hearing.
Okay, we move on to agenda item number 5, which is a public hearing again. Not again, it's just another public hearing.
Public hearing.
File number CU 21-008, discuss and consider action on an application by Wilkinson Development Incorporated lessor and the Salvation Army Family Store, the lessee, for a conditional use permit to allow a cargo container as a permanent structure in a B2 highway district located at 410 East Leota on property described as Lot 3, Gerald Brewer, First Edition to North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. It is a public hearing, so if anyone wishes to address, oh, you need to read, Judy, you need to read the whole thing.
Okay,
Yep.
again, Planning Commission should have received a copy of the review comments, also a copy of justification that was provided by the applicant. There's a copy of the existing cargo container and then a site plan showing the location of the existing cargo container. The applicant currently has a temporary cargo container used as storage for the Salvation Army Family Store located to the south of the commercial site and have stated that they would like to continue to use the container as a more permanent structure. According to the North Platte City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 156, Section 156.197A11, cargo container storage is allowed in a B2 highway commercial district subject to the approval of a conditional use permit. Planning staff has no objections to the conditional use permit as presented. The storage container has been on site as a temporary structure and has not posed any adverse effects since it has occupied the site. I don't see the applicant in the audience, but if you have any questions, I'll try and answer those for her.
Out in the hallway?
Salvation Army?
Salvation Army, nope.
Anyone else want to comment? Need a motion to close the public hearing.
I move. Go ahead, Don.
Go ahead.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved by Tristan, second by Nelson, right? Okay. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Weber,
Yes.
McGann,
Yes.
Jett,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Davies,
Yes.
Winder,
Yes.
and Bain.
Yes.
Okay, and again, public hearing is closed. Again, planning commission can discuss amongst themselves, but otherwise, we don't allow the public to speak.
It looks like there's parking back there. Is that going to be an issue?
There is a little bit of parking
little bit of
back there.
Quite a bit of park.
It has been there for quite some time, I think at least 6 months, the way that it is, and really hasn't caused any effects as far as parking goes,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
It's tucked in just right down there by the river.
Yeah.
The end store is unoccupied currently, so.
Oh, that's right.
Any other comments? I would entertain a motion.
I'll do it. I move that we find the request for a conditional use permit to allow a cargo container as a permanent structure on a B2 highway commercial district located at 410 East Leota meets minimum standards stated in the North Platte Code of Ordinances, section 156.322, and approve the grant, and grant the conditional use permit requested within the condition and all of the elements of the application are complied with, and, well, we don't have any other.
Yep, based on the following.
Yeah, based on the following factual findings. The use shall conform to all applicable ordinances, laws, and regulations of any governmental jurisdiction. Number 2, the use shall have adequate water, sewer, and drainage facilities. Ingress and egress shall also be designated as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. The use shall, in all other respects, conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located. And finally, the use shall be in harmony with the character of the area and most appropriate use of the land.
Is there a second?
Second.
Travis made the motion, Don seconded. Any comments, discussion? Roll call vote.
McGann,
Yes.
Jett,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Davies.
Yes.
Winder,
Yes.
Bain,
Yes.
and Weber.
Yes.
Okay, again, this will go to the city council meeting on April 6th as a public hearing.
Okay. Item number 6 is a public hearing on file number CU 21-009. Discuss and consider action on an application by New Life Assembly for a conditional use permit to allow living quarters situated in an office building in a B2 highway commercial district located at 601 East Francis Street on property described as Lot 1, U-Save replat to North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. Judy.
Okay, and again, you should have all received a copy of the review comments. Also attached is a justification letter. You'll also see a location map showing the zoning in the neighboring area, and then the site of where the proposed apartments are going to be located. The applicant does state on the attached justification that they're requesting to add 3 apartments above the current commercial building. These apartments will provide dwellings for people to live and make purchases in the community. This would be a similar use in the immediate area, since there is an apartment complex directly across the street to the east. According to the City of North Platte Code of Ordinances, Chapter 156, 156.197A5, this allows apartments or living quarters situated in an office or business building subject to the approval of a conditional use permit. Again, planning staff has no objections to the conditional use permit as presented. And there is a representative for the applicant if you have any questions. He is here.
Okay. Anyone
Well, we shouldn't deny them the chance to talk. I mean, they came
If-
after all.
Yes. If you would step forward and you're it.
I can be first, right?
All right.
Robert Stefka, 2016 William Avenue, representing New Life Assembly Church on this, specifically Pastor Baker.
Do you have any questions for him?
We just wanted
Okay.
to see you.
Thank you
smile.
guys very much.
Thanks, Rob.
Could put 'em on the spot. We were nice.
Is anyone else here to speak on that issue? Okay, then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
And Travis made the motion and Nelson seconded. Discussion, roll call vote.
Jet,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Davies.
Yes.
Winder,
Yes.
Bain,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
and McGann.
Yes.
Okay, again, public hearing is closed. It is open to discussion amongst the planning commission members, but that is it.
Okay. No questions?
These aren't existing apartments or existing layouts. It'll be a new design on the layouts. I'm assuming
Yes.
that they'll have to abide by city codes and standards by.
That is 100% correct.
Okay.
It will be a new build on the second floor of the current building. So yeah, if there's any requirements, they'll have to go through building
Sure.
and meet all those standards
So it's gonna be within the building that's already there.
within the building that is currently there, yes.
Comments, questions? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
They did the
All right, I'll
best
do
work.
it. I move that we find the request for a conditional use permit to allow living quarters situated in an office building in a B2 highway commercial district located at 601 East Francis Street meets the minimum standards stated in the North Platte Code of Ordinances, section 156.322, and approve and grant the conditional use permit requested with the condition that all elements of the application are complied with, and with the condition, no, we have no conditions, based on the following factual findings. 1, the use shall conform to all applicable ordinances, laws, and regulations of any governmental jurisdiction. 2, the use shall have adequate water, sewer, and drainage facilities. 3, ingress and egress shall be so designated as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. 4, the use shall in all other respects conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located. And 5, the use shall be in harmony with the character of the area and the most appropriate use of the land.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Nelson, seconded by Tristan. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Cruz,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Davies,
Yes.
Winder,
Yes.
Bain,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
McGann,
Yes.
and Jet.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Again, this will go to the city council meeting as a public hearing for April 6th.
Okay, agenda item number 7 is a public hearing. File number CU 21-010, discuss and consider action on an application by Jason and Kayla Jensen for a conditional use permit to allow living quarters situated in an office or business building in a B2 highway commercial district located at 206 North Jeffer Street on property described as the east 12 feet of Lot 6, Block 161, original town of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, and the middle 44 feet of Lots 7 and 8, Block 161, original town of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. Judy?
Okay, and again, you should have all received a copy of the review comments and then also a letter submitted by the applicants and then just a basic site plan of the current building. The applicant states in the attached justification that they purchased the building in 2017 and have been operating their business in the front of the facility for the past couple of years. They recently made a decision to continue renovating the space on the west end of the building. When they decided to renovate, they discovered living quarters due to existing plumbing, electrical, and the current layout. It would be feasible to convert that space into living quarters. The applicants mistakenly moved ahead with the renovations without first applying for and being granted a conditional use permit. According to the North Platte City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 156, Section 156-197A5, it does allow apartments or living quarters situated in an office or business building subject to the approval of a conditional use permit. George Lewis, City Fire Marshal, states that the living quarters shall meet the requirements of the National Fire Protection Association 101 2012 edition, Chapter 24, 1 and 2 family dwelling for means of escape, fire separation from the remainder of the building if required, and hardwired smoke detection system for the living quarters. Dave Hahn, City Building Inspector, states that the area has already been modified to a residence with no permits issued for any of the work. The project is subject to permitting adherence to all code requirements and inspections, and plans will need to be submitted prior to issuance of any permits. Building codes are adopted and followed to provide certain minimum standards, provisions, and requirements for safe and stable design, methods of construction, uses of materials in buildings that are erected, constructed, enlarged, altered, repaired, relocated, and converted. Planning staff has no objections to the conditional use permit as presented. However, if the conditional use permit is approved, the applicants will need to apply for and conform to all building code requirements and required construction inspection. Staff suggests that if Planning Commission does approve the conditional use permit, they do so with conditions of meeting all required building codes and inspections. The applicants, I believe, are here, hopefully somewhere. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them.
And state your names and your address.
Kayla and Jason Jensen, 206 North Jeffers.
Okay? Do you have anything you want to say?
No, you guys have any questions?
None? No? Yes?
Do you two have plans that you could submit for inspections? You have building plans that you could submit for inspection? Okay,
Yep, they're ready.
okay.
I don't hear any other questions for you.
All right. Fair enough.
Thank you. Anyone else? I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second. So that was Travis on the motion and Tristan on the second. Any comments? Roll call vote.
Hurt,
Yes.
Davies.
Yes.
Winder,
Yes.
Bain,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
McGann,
Yes.
Jett,
Yes.
and Cruz.
Yes.
Okay, again, the public hearing is closed. Planning Commission can speak amongst themselves, and we don't ask for any participation from the audience.
Okay.
So I guess I have a question, is that since they moved ahead without any sort of permitting and anything, is they're gonna need to get like retroactive building permits for all that? And
Yes.
okay. Is there a
They-
penalty for that?
Is there what?
Is there a penalty for that?
Yes,
Okay.
there's, we have a penalty for not getting permits, and then they will have to come in and get permits, and depending on what they have put in, they may have to replace certain things, they may have to, it just depends. We'll have to get in there and take a look at it. The building inspector will take care of that, and if there's inspections that need to be done, it's unfortunate, but, a piece of drywall may have to come down for an inspection to be performed, but that is, the risk that people take when they mistakenly don't get permits.
Sure.
So,
All right, thank you.
yep.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I think we need to break Jeff in on this one.
Jeff? I can't do that. No.
Go for it, Jeff.
I move that we find the request for conditional use permit to allow living quarters situated in an office building in a B2 Highway Commercial District located at 206 North Jeffers Street meets the minimum standards stated in North Platte Code Ordinances, Section 156.322, and approve and grant the conditional use permit requested with the condition that all elements of the application are complied with, and with conditions that all building codes, fire codes, and other related codes in the North Platte City Code ordinances are followed. All required building or fire code inspections are completed and approved based on the following factual findings. The use shall conform to all applicable ordinances, laws, and regulations of any governmental jurisdiction. The use shall have adequate water, sewer, and drainage facilities. Ingress and egress shall be so designed as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. The use shall, in all other respects, conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located. The use shall be in harmony with the character of the area and the most appropriate use of the land.
I'll second.
Motion was by Jeff, second was by Tristan.
I've been called worse.
Roll call vote.
Davies.
Yes.
Hurt.
Yes.
Cruz.
Yes.
Jett.
Yes.
McGann.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Bain.
Yes.
And Winder.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries, and again, that will be on the City Council April 6th agenda as a public hearing.
Moving on to agenda item number 8, public hearing, file number Z 21-002, discuss and consider action on an application by the New Life Church to rezone certain lands from an R1 dwelling district to an H1 hospital district located at 808 West Phillip Avenue and 805 West Reed Avenue on property described as lots 1, 2, 3, 22, 23, and 24, Block 1, Southfield 2nd Edition, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. Judy.
Okay, and again, you should have all received a copy of the review comments. Attached to that is a copy of the ordinance, if approved, would go on to City Council. And also, you will find the North Platte future land use map with the site located and the site with a zoning map showing the site proposed to be rezoned, and then just an aerial photo that shows the buildings that are on the site currently. In order to rezone a property, it's the duty of the Planning Commission to ensure that the rezoning is in conformance with the current comprehensive plan. The City of North Platte Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map 2011 indicates the area as planned future public or quasi-public and will not need to be amended. A copy of the land use map, again, is attached. The applicants are requesting the zone change to allow for future sale of the property as either a church or some type of commercial development. It is the thought of the applicant being close to the hospital that the area could develop into a medical office or similar use. Planning staff has no objections to the rezoning. The area is located in close proximity to the hospital, assisted living facility, and medical office buildings. This is a good fit for possible future development of the area. Phillip Avenue is a high-traffic street. Development of the site into a medical office space would be a benefit to the area, providing easy access to additional neighboring medical facilities. And again, the applicant or a representative of the applicant is in the audience if you have any questions.
Robert Stefka, 2016 William Avenue, on behalf of New Life Assembly.
Well, it's good to see you again.
Any questions for Mr. Stefka? None?
And this church is on the corner there, and the large parking lot in the back belongs to church as well, I'm assuming?
Yeah, there are 6 lots there. So this was the First Assembly of God church that's located there at the corner of Phillip and Oak.
Okay.
They merged with New Life Assembly, and so now New Life Assembly, which is the church obviously in the old U-Save behind the mall, doesn't have a use for it. So essentially, as we were looking at the property, highest and best use, considering there's 50% of the H1 zoning that's around it, we thought that would probably be a good fit for that property. But we can still also sell it as a worship facility.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak?
Can the screen be updated?
Oh, I'm sorry.
The screen
Yes,
is still up.
it can.
No problem.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tom Orblow. I live at 816 South Elm. And we're just right around the corner from the subject property. I think some of my neighbors had some questions about the possible uses of a hospital district. There were some specific things that Judy was kind enough to send me what that kind of zoning entails or permits. And in that particular corner, they could have a restaurant, they could have a crematorium, I could have a funeral home, they could still have a church, which is fine. So there was some concern on our part as neighbors, and I think there's some other neighbors here, as to what the ultimate use of the property might be. And it naturally lends itself, honestly, to some kind of medical facility use. It's a large building, I think it comes with a house, as I'm not mistaken. So it doesn't seem likely it would be much of anything else than something like what it's been used for in the past. However, I know the neighbors are concerned because of the potential uses that it could be put to based on the zoning that's being requested. And so I heard a little bit about, I think the point that's trying to be made by the church is to sell it with the most potential uses available. And we understand that. But however, we do have concerns about what it could be used for down the road without any further zoning changes. So that's a concern. And certainly that corner of Oak and Phillip, when I was a city engineer, we had great concerns about that corner in particular because we identified that as a potential for future traffic signal. Anything that would be like a restaurant or a high-use area is going to increase the traffic on that corner. That corner's had experienced several accidents, and I wouldn't pretend to tell you now that it's been in excess of anything, but it is a corner that has a high number of traffic use, and anything that would impede access to the hospital, for example, something that would entail a lot of traffic daily, could inhibit access to the hospital towards the emergency room. So that's just some concerns that we have as neighbors. Perhaps the church will address those, I don't know. I know Robbie Stefka real well, I trust him. So we don't have any great, I guess, bone to pick with anybody, but those were the things that we noticed on the list of things that could be used for that bothered us. So that, and I know bothered our neighbors. So, and I know there's some others that are here that may or may not speak if they have the nerve to get up and talk. So, anything you would want to ask me, I'd be glad to answer.
Any questions for him?
I don't know if there's any way to provide assurance that some of these uses could be cut out of that particular zoning option. That would go a long way towards making us feel a lot better about the potential use of the property. For example, a restaurant or a crematorium. And I'm sure that there would be other types of reviews that would occur depending on a use that might be proposed for that particular property, other than a church as it has been used in the past. So nevertheless, we do have a concern about it because it is in there and it is listed as uses that it could be used for. So that's our concern. And we wanted to raise that before the planning commission, before you make the determination to approve the zoning change. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Okay, then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
That was moved by Lee, seconded by Travis. Discussion, roll call vote.
Winder,
Yes.
Davies,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Jett,
Yes.
McGann,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bain.
Yes.
Okay, the public hearing is closed. Again, feel free to discuss amongst yourself, but we don't ask for any audience participation.
So he brought up the possibility of a traffic light being put in there. Is there any businesses that could go into that slot that would prevent the city from putting in a traffic light if they wanted to?
a business going in there that would prevent the city from
Yeah.
putting in a
Is there
traffic
anything
light?
that could go there whatsoever that would prevent us from putting a traffic light there?
Traffic lights are usually based off of engineering studies as to whether the need would be there or not, and I suppose that would depend on what type of intensity of a business that would go in there, if the amount of traffic would warrant a traffic study
Okay.
in order to decide if that, was needed actually in that particular area. I know he did talk a little bit about a restaurant and, getting assurances. So when you rezone a property to what is allowed in that zone district, you can't really say, no, you can't be a restaurant because it's allowed in that zoning district. Now, there are some things that might prohibit that a little bit, based off of required parking. So if a restaurant per se wanted to go in there, and depending on the number of seats or the number of stalls that they put in there, they may not have adequate parking to do something like that. So it would really depend on what the use is. The number of parking stalls that would be required would be the only thing that would really limit that use. So anything that's listed in that H1 district would be allowed if they could fit all of the other regulations. So, giving somebody an assurance that that's not what it's gonna be, that'd be pretty tough to do.
As far as making the change, they're really saying they're doing it for sellable value. But, I mean, is it common that people come in and change zoning just to change it?
To make it more marketable?
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens quite a bit. You get a residential area right up next to a commercial area. A lot of times it's more valuable as a commercial property than it is a residential property. This is a church, it's been a church for a long time. And I don't think they were getting a lot of other churches wanting to locate there. So I think it was just their thought process is if we could open it up to where they can do something more than just a church or a residence, we could open it up to something else that they might have the possibility of selling it.
And this being a rezoning, they don't have to do where they send out the letter to the neighbors and all that stuff?
Yes, we do.
We
It's
do.
the same thing.
So we have
Yep.
to go through that process? Yeah.
Yep, so all the neighbors that were in 300 square feet were, or 300
Contacted.
feet radius, sorry, not square feet. 300-foot radius were notified by certified letter, plus they were also given notification in the newspaper of the public hearing.
Okay, Judy, one of the things that is a permitted use in a hospital area, in a hospital district, is, as you said, a restaurant, but that's, and it doesn't say specifically, but most of these things are related to medical type things, whether it's
Yes.
apartments and dorms that are hospital related, cafeterias, restaurants, and vending areas. So although it says restaurants, most likely it would be something related to a medical area, but it doesn't have to be.
Right, most likely what would happen is you would have some sort of a clinic and then have a cafeteria area there with that clinic. Something like that would be more, you're probably not gonna see a restaurant, a McDonald's. Yeah, you're not gonna see a McDonald's. But, yeah, it's probably gonna have some relationship to the hospital type use,
And
something
part of
that's gonna
this
be.
is residential now.
Yes, the whole entire site that they are wanting to rezone
There's
is residential.
current Improved residential on part of it.
Yes, I think it was their parsonage that was there.
Okay.
Now, if they sell that as, it's a house now, and if they want to sell it, somebody can purchase it and still reside in it as a residential structure. That use stays, even though it's rezoned, since it's always been a house.
Grandfathered
Yep,
use.
yep, it's a non-conforming use. It would be allowed to continue to remain a residence. So they could sell that portion as a house and somebody could continue to live there.
Okay, any other questions or concerns for discussion?
Well, I certainly share some of the concerns that were brought up. I live just down the street, so I understand some of the concerns, but I'd be surprised to see this be anything other than a church or something in the healthcare industry.
I also live just down the street, and I agree with Tristan. It's a snow route, so I mean,
Yeah.
it's cleared out first too. It's actually gonna be a good place for either one of those.
And it's already a busy area of town. I mean,
Right.
that's already,
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
All right. I move to approve file number Z21-002 to rezone certain lands from R-1 dwelling district to an H1 hospital district located at 808 West Phillip Avenue and 805 West Reed Avenue.
Second.
Motion by Travis.
Yes.
Second by Tristan.
I'm not gone yet.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Winder,
Yes.
Davies,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Jett,
Yes.
McGann,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
and Bain.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. This will be sent on to the city council for the April 6th agenda, which will also be a public hearing.
Okay, and we move on to public hearing file number Z21-003. Discuss and consider action on an application by North Platte Mall LLC for approval of a master plan to rezone certain lands located at 1000 South Dewey Street from both a B1 Neighborhood Commercial District and a B2 Highway Commercial District to a PB2 Planned Highway Commercial District on property described as Tract 1, that portion of lots 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, and 10, Siegelin and Wabel's subdivision, and a portion of vacated alley between said lots 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, and 10, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. Tract 2, all of Siegelin and Wabel's subdivision, including vacated South Pine Street, vacated K and L Streets, and vacated alley, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. Tract 3, Block 4, South Platte Business Park, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. Judy.
Okay, and you should have all received a copy of the review comments. Attached to that, you'll also see an ordinance, if this is approved, that will be sent on to the city council. Then you will see the North Platte future land use map that shows the area as commercial. And then attached to that, this is something different that we don't normally see, is an overall master plan. The reason for the master plan is because we are rezoning to a planned business district. So if you read through that master plan, it will tell you some of the things that are going to be a little bit different than a straight B2 zoning. And attached to that, you'll see a copy of the subdivision, a couple of site plans, and then the zoning that is currently there, proposed zoning, and an overall master plan of ultimately what they are wanting the property to end up like. Now, Chairman McGann, items 9 and 10 do involve the same property. If we want to, we can discuss both of those together. Item 10 is the subdivision or preliminary subdivision. But if we don't approve item number 9, then we can't approve item number 10. In order to rezone the property, it is the duty of the Planning Commission to ensure that the rezoning is in conformance with the current comprehensive plan. The City of North Platte Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map 2011 indicates this area as for future commercial, public, quasi-public, and will not need to be amended. A copy of the land use map is attached. The applicants are requesting the change in zone from a B1 and B2 to a planned business district, or a PB2. According to the City of North Platte Code of Ordinances, Chapter 156, Section 156.335, states that the purpose of a planned district shall be to permit and regulate the uses permitted under this chapter in the equivalent district, and to further provide for and encourage the flexibility in location of buildings, structures, roads, drives, variation in yards and open spaces subsequent to the plan approval by the Planning Commission, Mayor, and the City Council. It is the intent to allow development of tracts of lands to their fullest extent, observing the general intent and spirit of the zoning chapter. The applicants again have submitted the master plan and a preliminary subdivision, and that is for your review. As stated in the master plan, the redevelopment of the Platte River Mall would consist of reconstruction and reconfiguration of the parking lot to the west, south, and southeast of the mall. Parking areas to the north and east will remain the same with some minor repairs and parking stall striping. The Verizon store to the northwest property corner will also remain. The mall building will remain with renovations, and the applicants are planning to construct a mixed-use building on proposed Lot 9. The individual lots will be accessed using shared access easements, and there will be shared parking available for the entire site. The property owners intend to construct new signs for the main entrance and the individual lots. Additional variances to City Code of Ordinances will include shared infrastructure improvements and landscaping. And I do ask that you read all of the master plan for the area. Planning staff has no objections to the planned unit development rezoning. The property is located in the hub of a commercial district of North Platte and will be a great redevelopment project for the community. Dewey Street is not only a state highway, but also a major thoroughfare connecting the entire community from the north to the south. Phillip Avenue is also a high-volume street, so the development will not be a detriment due to any increase in traffic. Allowing the applicants the ability to rezone to a planned unit development provides them with the ability to develop both residential and commercial structures on site. Providing apartments allows for a site with walkability, which is an asset to growing communities. This is a good fit for the area and growth and development of North Platte. We do have a representative for the applicant in the audience, if you have any questions or would like to ask him.
Before we start that, Judy, is it okay if we conduct both of the public hearings together?
The subdivision's not a public hearing, but you can talk about the subdivision at
Okay.
the same time if you would like.
And then we'd still have to have.
We have
public
to
hearings.
just act on that one, yes.
We don't have to have a public hearing
Nope.
on that one?
Nope.
Okay. You bet.
Very good. Hey, Mike Works, I'm from Lincoln, here on behalf of North Platte Mall LLC. And this is kind of our first unveiling of what we hope to do with the Platte River Mall, which is obviously what this is all about. So we're excited that you're seeing the site plan for the first time. I think there is a site plan slide someplace that we could throw up there. If you want.
You're gonna test my ability here, but I will do my best. I think you're on the second part. Oh, maybe not. Maybe you're on the first part. I will get there, I promise.
That screen's a little far away, is it?
Yeah, need to look at the one behind me.
There it is.
Oh, yeah, we should be at the very end probably. Is
That-
that what
the
you're
colored
wanting to
one's
see?
good. Yeah, the colored one's a good one.
Okay, now, probably gonna wanna shrink it a little bit. Oh, I don't wanna do that. Okay, rotate view. Counterclockwise?
Hey, that's
Okay, is that good?
That will work great.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay, I honestly, Judy stole a lot of my thunder because she told you a lot about the project as she was speaking. But I just wanted to show you real quickly what the site plan looks like. The mall itself, or the building, is staying the same. We are obviously getting over a 2-year period. We're gonna get rid of all of the interior pieces of the mall, and all of the mall tenants will be facing out towards Dewey Street, or in a couple of cases, towards the east on the backside. But no more interior mall is the goal, because that's really just not the future of malls. In addition, and the big additions to this are along Dewey Street. We are keeping the Verizon building, but then those purple rectangles along Dewey Street, we expect those to be restaurants or small retail. We have interest from several groups already, and so hope to quickly unveil what some of those will be. And then that's kind of the centerpiece of this whole thing is that V-shaped building in the middle, which is actually a 3-sided building. It is a 4-story apartment complex with the entire first floor being retail. Retail bays, about 25,000 square feet total, and then approximately 96 apartments up on top. And we expect that to be really phase 1 and get started on that almost immediately with retail and apartments open by next fall, really, fall of 22. And then there is some stuff on the far south side that will just happen as need arises. It might be a mixed-use piece, it might be another fast food restaurant, might be a coffee kiosk. There's a lot of options on that south side along Francis Street. But I don't want to take up a lot of time, but at least wanted to show you kind of what we're planning, and this is what we're going with. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Not at this point.
Beautiful.
We may call you back up.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, so is there anyone who wishes to address this issue? Yes,
Gary Pearson, President of the North Platte Area Chamber and Development Corporation. Chamber's located at 502 South Dewey. I can tell you as someone who has tried to recruit many things to North Platte in the old mall with a former owner that wasn't real conducive to spending the kind of money it would take to revamp the mall, to be attractive to new entities. This type of development is just absolutely knock your socks off cool. It's something you expect to see in the Haymarket District in Lincoln or the Old Market in Omaha. And we're very, very fortunate as a community to have a developer willing to spend the kind of money they're wanting to spend to do this. And it's really going to make a huge statement about North Platte, Nebraska, and where we're headed in the future.
thank you. Anyone else with comments? I don't see anyone getting up. Okay, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Second?
Bonnie made the motion, Travis seconded it. Roll call vote.
Bain,
Yes.
Winder,
Yes.
Davies,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Jett,
Yes.
McGann,
Yes.
and Weber.
Yes.
Okay, again, public hearing is closed. You can talk amongst yourselves, but we don't ask for participation from the audience.
What's the difference between a PB1 and a PB2?
So it would be the same, basically the same as a difference between a B1 and a B2. A B1 is a neighborhood commercial district, so it's a lot less intensive type commercial uses. A B2 is a higher commercial type uses. When you put the P in front of it, that makes it a planned unit development, and that's why you have to end up with that master plan, because then they can do some additional things according to their master plan that's approved. Like, for example, residential. We don't allow residential in a commercial district unless by conditional use we do allow, apartments or those types of things, which we've approved earlier. But in a planned commercial district or a planned B2 district, they do have some options of varying from that a little bit, and that's why the commercial or the residential would be allowed.
So then my next question is, they've submitted these sets. How much do they have to stick to those prints that are
The
submitted?
regulations require that they only vary 15% of the entire property, can vary from the actual use of what a commercial B2 district is.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, the motion that I would need now is for the rezoning.
I'll make
I
the
move, I move to approve file number Z2100-003 for approval of a master plan to rezone certain lands located at the 1000 South Dewey Street from both a B1 neighborhood commercial district and a B2 highway commercial district to a PB2 planned highway commercial district.
And a second?
I'll second that.
Tristan moved, Lee seconded. Any other discussion? Roll call vote?
Weber,
Yes.
Bain,
Yes.
Winder,
Yes.
Davies,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Jett,
Yes.
and McGann.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries that rezoning will be on the April 6th City Council agenda as a public hearing.
Okay, I think we're ready for agenda item 10? Okay. Discuss and consider action on an application by North Platte Mall LLC for preliminary approval of Sand Hills mixed-use subdivision located at 1000 South Dewey Street on property described as Tract 1. That portion of lots 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, and 10, Siegelin and Wabel subdivision, and a portion of vacated alley between said lots 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, and 10, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. Tract 2, all of Sieglin and Wavell subdivision, including vacated South Pine Street, vacated K and L Streets, and vacated alley, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. Tract 3, Block 4, South Platte Business Park, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska.
Okay. And you should have all received a copy of the review comments, and then attached to that, again, is the zoning and then the preliminary plat. Generally, we do a preliminary and a final plat altogether, but this was presented as a preliminary plat. In case there were any changes, they could change that on the final plat. The final subdivision will be considered at a future meeting. City utilities are available to service the lots through either direct access provided by utility easements or shared agreements. And again, planning staff has no objection to approval of the preliminary subdivision if the master plan has been approved.
Okay, discussion, and I might say that if there are things that you're concerned about, it would be better for them to hear about it now than after we approve a preliminary, and then we tell them when they bring their final one to us, oh, but we meant that. So if you have any questions or concerns, now would be the time to address them. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve file number SU 21-002, preliminary approval of Sand Hills mixed-use subdivision.
Second. Ooh, no.
Moved by Travis, seconded by Tristan.
That'll work.
Any other discussion?
You were talking about egress and in and out.
Yes.
Anyway.
Ingress, egress, okay.
Right, exactly. Are they moving the ones that are there existing, or are they looking, I mean, that, they're gonna have to work with the city engineers or the state engineers if they move any on the highway, I'm assuming.
Yes, and they have done that already. I believe there were 4 existing, and they've actually shrunk down to 2. The one will line up with that street.
That's what I was wondering.
yeah.
The one still lines up with the street.
Yes.
They kept the second one, but they closed a couple of the other ones, which
Yep.
makes sense, I think. So then city engineers and everybody's all happy with all of that kind of layout.
Yes, yep.
That's on the road plan too, so they'll be working with them.
That is correct, yeah.
Yeah, because I can see, I mean, increased traffic in this area
Absolutely.
with this development. I mean, that, which is good, but at the same time, it could create a,
It's on that 2-year road plan, so
Yeah.
I'm sure they're working with the state on the
Yeah.
highway and everything, so.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All right, I think we're ready for a roll call vote.
McGann,
Yes?
Weber,
Yes.
Bain,
Yes.
Winder,
Yes.
Davies,
yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
and Jett.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries, and this will go on to the city council agenda for April 6th.
Agenda item 11, which is a public hearing to discuss and consider action on a resolution regarding the City of North Platte, Nebraska Redevelopment Act Area Number 4, Blight and Substandard Study prepared by Hannah Keelan Associates, P.C., and to make recommendations regarding its conformity with the City of North Platte Comprehensive Plan 2011 as to if the real estate described should be declared substandard and blighted for the development of the City of North Platte pursuant to Nebraska Community Development Law. The proposed property includes an estimated 374 acres located along and east of South Newberry Road and north of the Interstate 80 corridor. Do you want me to do that, or?
That's fine.
Okay. This is a public hearing, and we do want to hear your comments. However, this agenda item is specifically regarding the blight and substandard designation of the property. If you have comments on whether this property should or should not be designated as blight and substandard, then you may proceed after Judy reads the description. If your comments concern details of the possible future proposed project, those comments will not be heard tonight, but when and if an actual redevelopment plan is presented to the Planning Commission. Judy.
Okay, what you have in front of you is the city's, it is the city's planning, or City Planning Commission's responsibility in the Blight and Substandard Determination Study process to take public comment on whether or not the real estate described should be declared substandard and blighted as pursuant to Nebraska Community Development Law, and if the study is in conformance with the City of North Platte's comprehensive plan. The following statements are what should be considered and confirmed. The property as presented in the study meets the requirements to be declared substandard. The property as presented in the study meets the requirements to be declared blighted. The factors necessary to declare the property blighted and substandard are sufficiently distributed to impact development across the entire site. The development of this property to its full potential is in the best interest of the City of North Platte and the entire region, and that there are projects ready to develop in this area if they can meet the financial goals of the developers. The City of North Platte, Nebraska Redevelopment Area Blight and Substandard Study prepared by Hannah Keelan Associates was on the February 16th, 2021 council agenda and referred to the City Planning Commission for review with a comment from Councilman Lucas. Councilman Lucas asked the Planning Commission to be sure to take into consideration the amount of acres being declared blighted and substandard and how that will affect the percentage of the city regarding declared blight and substandard areas. Nebraska State Statute 18-21033 regulates the percentage of city limits that may be declared blight and substandard pursuant to Nebraska Community Development Law. That states that a city of the first class shall not designate more than 35% of the city as blighted. Currently, the city limits of the City of North Platte contains 8,917.99 acres, with 2,197.79 acres designated as blighted and substandard, which is currently 24.6%. The proposed study will designate an additional 374 acres as blighted and substandard, which will increase the city's percentage to 28.8%. That is still well below the 35% allowable designated area. A copy of this study, which includes the copy of the comprehensive future land use map, is attached. Additionally, a summary of the requirements for the property to be declared blighted and substandard pursuant to the Nebraska Community Development Law is attached. So after you get past the resolution, the first 2 pages, and I highlighted those and underlined them in bold, is what you should be looking at as planning commissioners. What is blighted and what is substandard? And if you use those guidelines to go through the plan, or the substandard study, I guess, that is the guides that you need to use to determine whether this is blighted and substandard. I do have the consultant. He should be on. This is Zoom today. We don't have Zoom up here. This is Zoom today. So he should be on Zoom if you have any questions for them.
Do we have to turn him on?
Nope, I think he's there. Tim, are you there?
No, it's.
Is it Keith? Okay, sorry. Okay, Keith, sorry, this is Judy. We just wanted to make sure you were there in case we had any questions.
Yep, I am here and ready to go.
Okay, again, I would reiterate, it's a public hearing, but the only thing we are discussing is whether or not we agree that the study is ready to pass on to the city council. All we're determining tonight is making a recommendation. We do not have the power to say it is or it is not. We recommend to the city council that yes, that plot of land meets all the requirements that our city has for blight and substandard, okay? It is not about what might go there. That's for another hearing. That's not what this one is about. Okay, having said that, I have one other thing to say. I know that many of you have much you'd like to share. I would recommend 2, maybe 2.5 minutes. If you have a number of people who are addressing the same issue about being blighted and substandard, decide who's going to spend the time. probably going to do something like this. About a half an hour ought to get enough time for people to say what needs to be said. I don't know who's going to start, whether it's going to be positive or negative. It looks like Mr. Pearson's going to kick it off. But I'm going to try to limit as much time to the shouldn't be as to the should be's. Okay? That make sense? Got it. Mr. Pearson.
Chairperson McGann, Planning Commissioners, thank you very much for the clarification on what this public hearing is all about. The North Platte Chamber Development Corporation, as you know, works with a number of potential development projects, and we're always trying to look at challenged areas that have not developed over time. And so one of the tools that is allowed in the state of Nebraska for very challenged areas that meet these standards that you outlined is under the Nebraska Community Development Law. The process is that we need to engage a planning consultant to do a proper study to analyze each one of those qualifying factors, and then present to you in a study form where that determination has been made in their professional opinion. Hannah Keelan's been around the state of Nebraska for a long time. They probably have done more substandard and blighted studies across the state of Nebraska than any other planning firm that I'm aware of. But certainly they're at among the top of the list if they're not at the very top. So we wanted to make sure that we gave you an independent evaluation of what the situation was there, make sure it complied within the law. Mr. Carl is on there. And the reason that we asked to look at this proposed area is, number one, you've had an abandoned lagoon that's been there. I know Judy found it on a 1966 map, which was the first time there was a zoning ordinance adopted in the city of North Platte. So we know it preceded construction prior to then, and it's been abandoned for many, many years. Never turned into another useful purpose. We extended that out to one of the interchanges on exit 179 because that interchange has been there for almost 50 years that the interstate's been developed. It's never developed despite the demand for additional commercial properties out on the interstate because, again, of a very challenged area that is cost prohibitive for a developer to do without some sort of tool to use like tax increment financing when it comes to a blighted designation. Same could be said for the lagoon. So that's why we initiated the study, because we believe that we can turn this property that has served no valuable purpose for the city of North Platte and turn it into commercial and industrial developments that can add a lot of value and potential jobs in our community.
Thank you.
And Mr. Carl can go through those qualifying factors if you want him to.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. So first, this is Keith Carl, Hannah Keelan Associates, the community planning and research firm in Lincoln, Nebraska. I want to thank you for the opportunity to give us a chance to speak tonight in regards to the Blight substandard determination study that was prepared for what is considered redevelopment area number 4 in the southeast portion of the city of North Platte. First and foremost, we follow the direction that's given to us, as was mentioned earlier, in the Nebraska Community Development Law, Chapter 18, Section 2103. There are 4 separate substandard criteria and 12 separate blight criteria, or factors rather, that all contribute to, are including but not limited to substantial number of deteriorated or dilapidated structures, street layout, layout in terms of, size adequacy, accessibility and usefulness, and also determination of sanitary and unsafe conditions and the existence of conditions which endanger life or property, and also the health, safety, morals, and welfare of the general public and the natural environment. So upon our field work, we had an extensive tour of the site of the redevelopment area, and it was discovered that of the 4 substandard criteria and the 9 blight criteria that are, the 12 blight criteria that are identified in the community development law, all but 3 were found to be in a strong presence, or were found to have a strong presence within the redevelopment area. Now, in terms of structures, we made the determination that the berms that were constructed to support the lagoons counted as a structure because it is a man-made element. The other structure that was on there was a maintenance shed or kind of a storage garage of some nature in the very northern portion of that of the redevelopment area. So as long as you have structures within the redevelopment area and they meet the age requirements of the community development law, which would be 40 plus years of age, then you do have a blight and substandard criteria as it relates to deterioration or dilapidation of structures. And so based upon our analysis, we were able to find that, there are blight and substandard conditions that do exist within this area to the point that, public intervention may be required in an effort to allow these lands to be kind of reconstructed or redeveloped into more efficient and dense uses. So that's kind of the extent of what we were able to find. There is an excessive amount of land that is considered functionally or economically obsolete. And what we mean by that, again, is that the land is being used right now for a purpose that does not suit the general public. It does not suit the interests of the city. And so by that, the designation of utilizing tax increment financing for this project, which is a public intervention tool that has been very successful in North Platte, it has been used on several occasions, that this could potentially encourage newer developments or more higher and dense and more profitable uses of the land. So it was in our best interest that the number of criteria that were identified in the study, that a majority of them do meet to a strong presence the blight and substandard criteria that's set forth in the community development law. So we went ahead and made that recommendation and had the graces of city leadership to be able to move forward with the study on those notes. So those are all my comments at this time.
Okay, and you will stay on the line in case we have some questions.
Yes, I'll hang around until this section is all said and done.
All right, appreciate that. Thank you. Sir?
No problem.
My name's Jim Tierney. I live at Hidden Lakes Road in Hidden Lakes, and they're about a mile and a half southeast of this 374 acres. And we have it's a subdivision, and we bought out there, and we're part of the city. We're in the 2-mile limit. And I've lived in Denver, and I've gone to school in Greeley, Colorado, and wherever you have some of this butcher plant stuff, you've got trouble.
Sir, this is not about the butcher plant. This is about blighted or substandard.
Well, this place has been there, and we bought out there, and we would like to know just if you have one use for it, and there's a lot of technical language going on here, but it doesn't do a thing for us out there when the wind blows out of the northwest. And that's at least 5 or 6 months out of the year out of the north.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tierney. Okay.
Tony Whitman, 815 North Dawson. I'm here because of Tristan on the radio, Muggs and Morty. I've worked for the railroad for 30 years, and, as the railroad's declining, in 2016, I started working with my hands, fixing houses up. And I've been renting them out for under $650 to people that aren't, making the big bucks. And the hardest part isn't the fixing of the houses up, it's getting a good tax break, from the tax assessor after you fix one up. And I've been corresponding with Groney, Senator Groney, on this micro TIF that he did. And I don't agree with Lagoon. I'm actually fixing blighted houses that have been vacant for years up and putting people in them, which is different than, I'm not a developer and I can't afford a study, on it. But I do have, I don't know if you guys will take, some of my little study, my low budget study, of the houses that I have and the houses that are around it that are vacant, on the north side of town. So that's why I'm here, to be heard that way, so that maybe I can get a tax break and make my rentals viable if I lose my job at the railroad, that I can stay here in town. So I don't know if you guys will take this or not.
Do you want to take it?
Sure. Exhibit 1?
Sure. And then I do invite you, if you want to talk about microTIF, stop by my office. I'm at the west end of the building, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday.
And you guys will be rezoning or doing a different zoning, or is this already?
This has already been zoned to a I-2, which is a heavy industrial area. That was done, probably
months
about
ago.
in September, October, something like
Last
that.
fall sometime.
Yep.
Yeah, see, I didn't know that. I kind of heard it on the radio in Muggs in the morning and decided I better come in here and say something, so.
Okay, thank you.
So people are listening to you, Tristan.
There's at least 2.
There you go. The ratings are going up.
Yep.
Hi, Jennifer Baker, 818 East 10th. My concern here with this property area is what will happen to the river system that is on the southeast section of that so-called area that's going to be deemed blighted. And also what will happen to the wetland that is on the northeast side. What the commission has done to protect these areas, to protect the waterways. Has there been any EPA studies or what is going on there with these particular water paths? And how are we going to protect them? Because I do know the South River runs on the one section of that so-called blighted area, and the North River is also on the other side of the property that you're deeming to rezone. Can anybody answer that for me?
Can I ask him a question? Did
Yes.
you happen to hear that, Keith?
I only heard part of it. If we could repeat the question, I'll try to
Okay,
answer the best I can.
as it pertains to the blight study, is this going to have any type of effect when it comes to the rivers between the area?
And I'm concerned how the commission is planning on protecting the river and the waterway and that wetland.
Okay, I'll answer that question. I'm going to have him see is there any idea, is the blight study going to do anything to affect either of the two rivers?
The North Platte River, I know, is not part of the area. The northern boundary is just adjacent to that river corridor. The South Platte River, I know in the floodway district, there are certain regulations that, and Judy, you can kind of back me up on this too, there are certain regulations for the protection of the natural environment there. And so, the blight study doesn't necessarily change anything in terms of how that land is protected or how that land would be utilized if a commercial or industrial development would happen to be placed on or be placed within the redevelopment area. That's kind of more for what gets studied if there is a development project that occurs. But the Blight study itself does not change any designations along the river.
Okay. And I'll just expand on that a little bit. If a project does come forward, if a redevelopment plan is submitted, at that time, a study will be conducted to ensure that we're not going to do anything damaging to the river.
Or the wetlands.
Or the wetlands.
Okay, can you tell me who will do that study? Are we talking EPA, Clean Water Act people? Who exactly will conduct this study?
At this present moment, I can't tell you exactly who, but before, we've worked with the rivers and development issues, ever since I've been here. A lot of times we have the Army Corps of Engineers involved.
Correct.
It just really depends on what they're doing and how it is, but we will take all the precautions. I assure you, we will take all the precautions to make sure that that is protected.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next. Here comes someone. And then you're next, sir.
Josh Hempfield, 701 South Bryan. I just have one question. Where are we going to put the prison? Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
In the waterways.
Let's see, somebody stood up. No. Who'll be next?
Hi, Ronna Imfield, 1122 Sandstone Drive. And I just have a question. I have a background in real estate with commercial real estate, and I know that just in consulting with some of the industrial brokers that I worked with, that a good percent of the reason why you would consider land to be blighted was for the purpose of getting TIF. Is that why this is being done?
That is generally why an area is designated as blight and
to get
substandard.
the TIF.
One of the criteria is there has to be, a proposed project or a project that possibility of locating there.
So would U.S. Fish and Wildlife or anybody, like any organization like that, deem that a blighted property too because of all the wildlife that's in the area with some of those protected marshlands and the rivers?
I'm not familiar with all the abilities that U.S. Fish and
I'm
Wildlife have to do. I mean, I'm sure they have.
Just saying that if you consider it blighted, to be able to make it a heavy industrial area, and considering the proximity of the rivers to it, how that will impact it. I'm just, I'd like to know if there's any, conversation with them, if they've approved it, disapproved it, if they disagree, to say that this shouldn't be deemed blighted.
Blighted and substandard. I don't know that I've had any direct contact with them regarding this study particularly, but it was very highly publicized that the study was going to take place. And I think if they would have had any concerns with the study, they would have made contact with a city official. And to my knowledge, that has not been done. Now, when a project does come forward, we will be sure to take all the precautions and contact everybody that needs to be contacted in order to make
blighting
sure.
to get the TIF is really what they need to build the operation. So.
This is always the first step in a possible proposed project, yes.
Okay, that's all.
Thank you. Now, sir,
Hi, Mary. Don.
you need to come up to,
Hear me from here.
You've
you
gotta
need to come up to the podium. And I need your name.
You be quiet. Larry Golden, I live down east of the sewage lagoon. One thing I want to bring up, do you guys know that Chief Red Cloud was born down there? I wonder if he considered himself substandard. Anyway, that South Lagoon, where they're going to put this processing plant, it is below the water table a little below it. And as I understand it, it does not qualify for wetlands because it does not drain out. And that's what I understand. I don't know if I'm correct, but that's just what I've been told. But it is wetlands. It is wetlands. for those of you who have been in the east part of North Platte, you have been witnessing 20 or 30,000 snow geese, and I don't know how many ducks, and they're using this wetlands, and I'm gonna call it wetlands. I think the development of this should not go under the table without creating more wetlands that will probably be covered there. I believe as environmentalists, as human beings, they need this for spring migration. Excuse me. They need this for fall migration, and it's not only ducks and geese. We witnessed about 50 pelicans go in there, and the water's about this deep. Yeah, there's phragmites in there, and there's everything else, but they need this wetlands, or at least someplace else in the county, the equal amount that we are going to eventually cover up. And as humans, I think we need to look into this. I think we need to get the Fish and Wildlife Service involved. Have I said enough?
You've got a couple more seconds.
You guys still rehabbing? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, here comes a speaker.
Sophia Klein. I'm at 1003 East 4th Street. And I believe I have a reason for this land not to be blighted if this is the first step. I believe that it will interfere with my future business plan of the land that is currently there. America's founders understood clearly that private property is the foundation not only of prosperity but freedom itself. Though the common law, state law, and the Constitution, they protected property rights. Property is the foundation of every right we have, including the right to be free. It would be to no avail, however, if property once acquired could not be used and enjoyed, if rights of acquisition, enjoyment, and disposal were not legally protected. This includes the right of active use and quiet enjoyment. One cannot use their property in ways that damage or hinder use of their neighbor's property. My family has owned this property since 1968. John and I will be occupying this land in the future. My grandpa has made this property into a wildlife haven, one that has been home to millions of waterfowl and four-legged friends for years. We have not felt the need to go public with our future plans for this land until these recent events. In honor of his legacy, our plan is to use this land in one of our future business endeavors. John and I have been active business entrepreneurs in this community for over 10 years and wish to continue to do so. Our love for this land and community has had us wanting to share it with others, and it has been enjoyed for years. We now realize this needs to be the next step moving forward with a plan for approval. We will need time to finalize our ideas into an actionable plan to present to the Planning Commission. Our vision of use with our property and the surrounding land is to be able to have hunting education, wildlife education classes, youth fishing tournaments, and controlled target shooting and possible guiding hunting tours for all of our youth, along with opportunities to use our land for hunter safety classes and other gun licensing permits. At one time, there was a youth long-range .22 shooting competition. My grandpa to this day still gets calls about how that changed those kids' lives, and how that we need a place for our youth to go and understand Nebraska and what Nebraska is about. We have read and heard our community's need for youth programs. We know that we are currently lacking in places for our children to be outdoors and enjoy something other than screen time. We need to have a place for some of our youth to really experience Nebraska, the good life, to really experience our Nebraska values and the love for our outdoors. We believe that we can offer this through the use of our land. I believe the development of a meatpacking plant would negatively affect my family's business, as it could potentially affect migration patterns of wildlife and fowl. As of last week, their plan was to use Golden Road as their entrance and exit for 850 employees and semis carrying 14 head of cattle a day. When the question got brought up about a possible two-shift, it was said that yes, there is that possibility.
Sophia, we're not about the plant. This is not a discussion
Okay,
about
I'll
the
skip
plant.
that. Our family needs time to discuss more details before we go public about the cost of our operation and how many jobs we could possibly offer the community. I ask of this board that this be tabled while our family has time to prepare and present a formal business plan to the Planning Commission. This land should be preserved and have the opportunity to do what it is intended to do for years, and that is to give back to the community. This land has been a part of several wildlife organizations. Companies have sought out this river property for mitigation. This land is a prone spot where many young hunters have shot their first gun, duck, and deer. There are trap chutes on this Golden Points Ranch, beehives, dog trails, and bow hunting lessons. This land has been featured in several state and national newspapers and state magazines. We ask that you consider a second location for this proposed business. Our community needs economic growth, but not at the expense of possibly harming other families' future. I believe this plant needs a different location. If your success comes at the cost of another's whole life work, I think the golden rule should apply. In everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, you're next.
Dave Enfield, 2207 Iron Court. Just my question is, when will the discussion about the plant, do you guys have any idea when that might be?
This has.
Yeah, do the process of
Of how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically what we're doing right now is a blight and substandard designation. Planning Commission will make a recommendation to City Council. City Council, and that would be on April 6th, so that one's already set for April 6th. But it's gonna be the same type of a thing, it's gonna be the blight and substandard study. Then what happens is it will go to the Community Redevelopment Authority, and they will work on doing a redevelopment plan. If an application goes to them, which would be a tax increment financing application redevelopment plan, the CRA, and I can't tell you the timing 100%, this is just a guesstimate. If that does continue to move forward, then at the earliest, the redevelopment plan would be on back to the City Planning Commission again, at the earliest would be April 27th. Now, that's not set in stone yet. A lot of things have to fall into place first.
Okay.
So there's not a huge given timeline. That can change. But at that point, then you would be discussing the redevelopment plan, which would get into a lot more details of an actual project, if that project does go forward.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
My name is Judy Powell, and I live at 801 Robin Layton here in North Platte. And I would like to know why this committee would bring such a proposal forward to such a populated area. Why would they not search out other land that wouldn't be with the blight and all that? And we have pristine waterways here. Concerned about all that, concerned about the aquifer. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe we have someone else coming up. No? Yes?
Can any of you hear? And
Whoa, 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 whoa. We need your name, please,
Bill Mellison,
and where you live.
North Platte, all my life,
No, I want a street address.
911 East B.
Thank you.
How many of you people, and all of you should be able to tell me how many millions and billions of dollars we spent on this blighted land? And why did we do it? That's what I'd like to know. Okay, got any answers? Probably not.
Next.
You want me to go around?
Got one that's gonna come around.
Okay. We do have a gentleman coming around.
Hello, my name is David Hibner. I live on Airport Road.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so this is obviously a huge topic that's, I mean, that's why there's people here. There's never more than a handful of folks here, probably.
That's right. That's right.
No offense, I'm sure it's usually
That's
exciting. So of course, the blighted land is it's within city limits. Traditionally, these things aren't. So a lot of folks are wondering, including myself, and I'll live within view of this location. Why is it being blighted? Is it being blighted just for the development, or was that part of it, or did the city blight it and then make it available for development? What order did we go in? Because I think there's an appropriate order.
I have a question for Judy. In order to look at it as blighted or substandard, you also have to have some type of development people who are interested in making it blighted and developed, or
That is-
substandard.
that
So
is
if I have a piece of ground sitting next to where I own property in town, and there's nothing on it, in order to have it be named blighted or substandard, there has to be somebody who asked about the land and are interested in developing it into something.
Yeah, you have some type of a possible project. You don't just blight and substandard an area for no reason whatsoever. So yes, there's always some type of a possible project that may or may not locate there depending on what they're doing. So yes, there is some type of a project in mind when you blight and substandard an area or make that designation, yes.
So the potential business asks the city or the county, they make a proposal and then they apply for blighting, or the city applies for blighting after that point?
There's a lot of negotiation that goes on, or a lot of talking that goes on before an area is designated blighted and substandard, or even if it is possible. Because, if you look at an area and I can tell there's no possibility of it ever meeting the standard, that would be an area that would be, okay, no, we can't go there because, there's no way that that's going to happen. And then that's why the study is done, to ensure that it does meet blight and substandard.
Okay. So, being that it's city property, is it publicly offered for anyone business to develop, or, how would that process go? Because it, frankly, it seems like it was done a little quick with the business in mind, and generally these city property is sold with a fair posting and time period and things like that. So is there any insight on that?
Didn't we rezone this several months ago?
Yeah, this property was rezoned for the possible future development of something.
So there's
at
plenty of
that-
time.
Yeah, and it was rezoned back in, I believe, September.
Right. So there's been
Yes.
plenty of time. Okay.
So was it publicly announced? Because I don't think anyone knew of.
When the property was rezoned originally back in, I believe it was September, it was in front of this planning commission, in front of city council, public hearing notice was given that they were going to rezone the property for a possible future, or for possible future development of the area. At that time, I don't believe it was anybody knew 100% of what might possibly go in there. But the city of North Platte doesn't have a lot of industrial zoned areas. And there's a lot of businesses that look for ready-to-go properties, or like shovel-ready type properties. And in order to do that and entice different types of businesses to come, if you have properties that are, already rezoned to certain types of industry or commercial type properties, they have a better interest in the possibility of locating there.
Okay, so it's on the business to get that ball rolling. It's not like a fair market deal set forth by the city for multiple businesses to go after.
So,
Guess I'm not
so if
clear
you're
on this.
interested, so if you're interested in purchasing city property,
And build an
go
industrial.
contact the city administrator and ask him if there's any for sale or possibly could be for sale. I would start there.
Okay, all right. We didn't quite get there, but we're close.
Okay.
So if this becomes blighted land, and I contacted the city administrator, what else could be blighted? I mean, that's condemning land.
It's not condemning land.
Okay, well,
There's a
blighting-
difference.
Blighting the land in order to get a tax break, like the other gentleman said with the small business, he's not able to get that. And many other small businesses, but if we're blighting this, where do we go with it next? Are we able to blight other properties within the city limit?
Yes, we can go up to 35%. And I have a map in my office. I invite you to come in anytime. And it shows areas that are already blighted and substandard. For example, the mall area that we just took a look at, it's already in a blighted and substandard area.
The North Platte Mall?
It is already in a blighted and substandard areas. There's numerous areas in town that are already in blighted and substandard. So you can skip this portion of the process because those areas are already there. And then are there potential areas in North Platte that could possibly be blighted and substandard for other uses or for other businesses? Yes, we still have some properties that I believe probably could be blighted and substandard in other areas.
That sounds interpretive. I mean, my point is, if we keep blighting land in the name of economic wins, where do we stop? Where do we draw a standard as a city or as a committee?
We stop at 35%. That's state law. That's where you have to stop. Yep.
Of your city limits?
Of your city limits, yes.
Okay, so 1/3 of the city could be blighted.
That is correct.
Okay, and then next, if we want growth, and we do, won't we need that sewage lagoon down the road? Have we talked to the sewer guys to see if they need it? If we add 5 or 10,000, 20,000 folks in the next 10 or 20 years, and that land is gone, do we need to purchase more land at a market rate and not get the break that we give on the land? So we pay millions to link up to the city. Are we gonna need to do that? And I would think yes. I mean, that was built for growth. Things slowed down since the 1960s, but still city land, it's paid for. I mean, have we thought about that or talked to the sewer guys?
Yes, I have not been privy to that information, but yes, I do believe that they have had some discussions as to what they would need to do, if they needed to grow, where they needed to go, and I do believe that occurred, yes.
So they do have the space?
Yes, I mean, they will not sell the property if that is something that we would need for the future. I can almost guarantee you that it wouldn't be happening. But they do have plans for expansion. As the city grows, we have plans to make sure that we're covered. We're not gonna, shrink the size of the sewer lagoon and not have space for growth.
Right, that would just seem to be expensive down the road if we had to purchase property for something that we had.
Yeah, and like I said, I can't speak to that because I have not been privy to those conversations, but those conversations have happened.
Has anybody else heard by chance?
No.
Okay. I think that
Okay,
was-
you've had about 10 minutes. Do you have a couple more questions quickly?
Okay. Well, respectfully, we had plenty of time for the stop sign topic. I will wrap it up. I do appreciate your time. I know these are tough questions, and they should be. It's part of our community that we all want to grow properly, and we want it to be protected, and so there's going to be a lot of interested people with tough questions like me. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt?
Real quick?
Yes.
One simple question.
Name and address, please.
Johnny Klein, 1003 East 4th. On this 35%, sorry, we didn't have a lot of time to plan for this. Found out about this last week. Sophia had a whole spill planned out. Come to find out it's not about that. This is about Blight. So my question in watching the discussions is this 35%, and this will take us to 28%. Okay, we've got a decline in the Union Pacific Railroad. And if they move the hump yards away and we're just a through, and there's all these acres over there that are deemed unusable, right? Could it be blighted and substandard? I noticed the map up there.
Yeah, that's the map up there. I was just making sure the hump yards weren't in the city limits. You can only blight and substandard areas that are within city limits.
Are they not?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
All right, I was just wondering in the future if that needed to be blighted and substandard, would that not be available since we're already at 28%? So.
Yeah, it would take a lot.
Survey? Have you guys conducted a survey or had somebody do a survey on, rundown houses that we could blight and substandard? Is this gonna push us close to where we're not gonna be able to fix up some of our communities?
I don't think so. I believe the 28%, it's a pretty good area. And we do have some potential for growth and some potential for annexation, which can also bring that percentage down.
Okay.
So if you annex, then you're.
If we grow out to Bailey Yards and it becomes.
Yes, then it becomes part of it. Then your percentage is gonna go down again.
We just don't wanna toe the line.
What was it?
Basically. Toe the line of 35%.
Yeah, we don't wanna hit 35%
Right.
because then that is going to cause us some issues. So we wanna make sure that we stay below that 30% as much as we can, 35%,
I've learned so much.
sorry.
I've learned quite a bit in the last 30 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, Amanda Hibner, North Airport Road as well. So my question is, how did this company say stage one or step one is they have to reach out and say we're interested in this property? So they were just driving on 80 and said that property right there. How did they know about it? Where did that come from?
I think we should probably have Gary Pearson answer how economic development, how companies that want to come into the city of North Platte, how they would do that.
Obviously, we look at every area we can in Lincoln County. We've had some projects where we scoured every square acre, trying to find areas that would be compatible. When companies approach us, they're looking for certain qualifying factors where it would make sense for them. Some projects are extraordinarily expensive to develop, take a lot of infrastructure costs. One of the things that are attractive to them is if there's a substandard blighted area that they can use some of their own money to qualify. And just to answer a previous question, how much money are you spending on this? It's all private sector money that's spent on it, but it's on public infrastructure. So public infrastructure gets improved, the business still pays the additional tax on it. Whatever the property is producing in taxes currently, always still goes on the tax rolls.
They don't get tax breaks?
No. So they then still pay the property taxes, but the property taxes, the increased value of the property taxes can be captured for a certain period of time to help pay for the public improvement infrastructure. And the public improvements also then help serve the community better because those improvements are made. And so say there is a more demand for public water lines, sewer lines, parking lots, street lining, those kind of things, that those are qualifying expenses for TIP. So obviously, when I'm approached by a company that's considering multiple locations in several states or multiple locations in Nebraska, we always want to put our best foot forward on what we think we can do in North Platte or Lincoln County to get that project to consider. So based on that, then we lay out the parameters as part of the negotiation process. We're usually competing against other places for those projects. And we try, in my deals, to help bring those deals together and present it through the public process. So it's up to the community to embrace it or let it go down the road and let some other community benefit from it. So you have to use every available tool that you possibly have to make that happen. All I've heard in the 5.5 years I've been in North Platte is we need more industry. We need more heavy industry. We need more jobs. We need to diversify our economy. That's what we're trying to do. And so if you want to see the steady decline in population and the complaints about, well, these jobs are leaving, this business leaving, that'll happen. I can tell you since some of the discussion on the most recent project, I've had 5 other companies contact us. Would have never, ever considered North Platte under any circumstances. They know they could be a support ancillary business for that. And these are good paying jobs, good quality jobs, and they would never, ever consider North Platte without a catalyst that's gonna grab their attention. It's no different than the redevelopment of the mall. Why couldn't we recruit other retail or restaurant or all those amenities that people want? It's because you had an old dinosaur sitting there and a previous owner that didn't want to spend a dime to improve it. Now you got somebody from the outside willing to put a heck of a lot of money in, but yes, it's gonna take a community partnership to get that done. The community's gotta have skin in the game or it's not gonna happen. And I've been out around the economic development world for 40 years. And I have a lot of bumps and bruises and scars to show for it. But it's my job to try to present something that North Platte can either embrace or you can send it down the road. It's that simple.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He doesn't use my time, right? Thank you for explaining. I appreciate the process.
I used to call the milk cows in every morning.
Right. I appreciate it. So my next question then, if it's being considered blighted, they're obviously going to have to raise their elevation, correct?
That is correct.
Are they gonna have to pay the same fees, the same permits, the same fines that I am on my land, just so I can put up a barn?
Yes, they do.
They're not getting any breaks in those fees, so my
No.
$1,000 permit, the same applies to them without any kind of
Their permit,
caveat?
yes. They are going to have to pay permits.
But not
That's permit
discounted
fees.
rates, right?
As far as I know, as of today, absolutely not. Those
Okay.
would be.
Because that's
and-
my big concern. I'm
Yeah,
just trying
if
to put a.
if they requested discounted permits, they would have to go to city council and get approval for it. And I highly doubt that's gonna happen at this point.
My next question. I'm just gonna read a quick definition. So blighted property is a legal term for land that is dilapidated, unsafe, and unsightly in condition. The property presents an imminent danger to other people, property, or animals. If it's such imminent danger, why didn't this come about years ago? Why are animals thriving there? If it's imminent danger, there would be no life there, correct?
We're looking at the requirements that the state of Nebraska says, and that's what the study addressed, was the items that have to be met in order for us as a city to say this is substandard or this is blighted. And so they have to meet, thank you, Judy, they have to, that's why you do the study, is to determine whether or not they meet it. And then the company brings that study to us and we say, there's no legal reason for us, it meets all of the requirements, then we have to come up with some reason for it not to still be blighted or
Yeah.
substandard. I'm glad I'm not back then. So the requirements as you now have, I think you gave me that
Yep.
right.
I gave you a copy of the Nebraska state statute designation for blighted and substandard. So I'm not sure what you read. These are a little bit different than what you read, but that gives you the definition out of state statute.
According
That
to
is what
state,
we
not,
are
not
required.
federal, because federal's what I was reading from.
Yeah, that is Nebraska
So those
state
are
statute,
different.
and that is what we have to follow is Nebraska
Interesting
state
how
statute.
imminent, that key word was removed from the state standard, but it's in federal.
Probably had to go to the legislature for that one.
Okay, well, those are all my questions.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you, thank you. We're well past our 30 minutes, but I see there's a gentleman who would like to speak, and I will allow it. 1 minute. Shall I time you?
I'm Tom Golden, and I'm Larry's neighbor and his brother. I live next door to this blighted area. I'd like to just, sure you guys can have this if I can approach.
Do you need his address?
Probably should.
Address?
4710 Golden Road.
Okay.
This will be Exhibit 2.
That's the
Okay.
blighted area you're talking about there. And you can have it. I just wanted to pass that on. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Go this way.
I'll bring him out.
Chuck McCarty, 1001 East B. Do you guys ever talk to the people of the city council and the mayor?
No.
You don't? I'm thinking you don't. Due to the fact that we're spending all this money doing research on making a acre or two of ground substandard, when last time I was at a city council meeting, we gave away 154 acres. There's no reason we couldn't have just give that 154 acres to the people that want that substandard. What difference is it gonna make whether the packing plant is a half mile east and a half mile south, or a half mile north and a half mile west? It ain't gonna make no difference. But we gave away 154 acres for $10,000 that was not substandard.
Mr. McCarty, that's a whole nother issue. We're dealing with this piece of property.
I understand that. You're dealing with a piece of property that needs to be substandard in order to build a building on it, that we are going to help build. Now, we gave away 154 acres, and we could have got more than $110,000 for it.
Sir, that's not the issue we're talking about here. Do you have
Well,
anything,
I think
do you
it's
have
pretty
anything about
relevant.
this particular piece of property?
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Don't be bashful. Yes, sir.
Oh, sir.
Now,
There's a face we
come
haven't
on.
seen.
Wow.
Name's Drake Wilkie, 2220 West Leota. First of all, thank you. I know this is a tough meeting for all of you. I've been in your shoes. Obviously, economic development is varying opinions. And, you know, the tool of the blighted and substandard tool to attract businesses is something we've wrestled with in this committee and others that I've been on over the last 30 years. And, you know, frankly, it's a tool that you have to have this standard, this first designation before you can use it for any development, controversial or otherwise. And you know, a lot of good people in the room that don't agree, and that's what makes your job tough. But I think it's as simple as you have a study from an expert. We had several vettings of who could do blighted substandards, and this Hannah Keelan highly recommended, and it meets the state statutes of that. And I guess to me, that's kind of boils it down to this. The other items are different discussion, but I'm in favor of you approving the Hannah Keelan study for this to be blighted and substandard to meet state statute. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I believe we have someone else who would like to speak.
I'm Bernie Golden, live at 2015 Sunset Drive. I also have ground out there by my dad, my Uncle Tommy, and I know this is restricted regarding the blighted ground. But if you ask them ducks and geese and deer and turkey that are all out there all year round, that ground's not blighted. That's Golden's Pond. That's paradise to them. And if you look at them pictures my uncle gave you, you'll understand. And I hate to see that go away. I'm in favor for growth for North Platte. I want this thing. I don't like the location. Well, I'm in favor of growth to North Platte. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Nobody in that hallway? Anybody in that hallway? Before you speak, because you've already spoken. Do we have anyone else?
Nobody.
None?
Oh, got one.
Travis Griebel.
I live at on Sugarberry Road, Court, excuse me. I had a few questions, but a lot of them have been already covered. I know this is specifically about whether or not you can legally object, right? Is that what we're trying to figure out? Action? So obviously, whether or not I want a plant there might not be relevant, but suppose I wondered if there were alternative locations. Scale and proximity to the river would be my biggest concern. That would be, what to say. So yeah, I guess alternative locations and how this would affect, I think it's already been covered, but what impact it would have for alternative use of this funding. Yeah. So that would be my question. I don't know if I should stand here, but.
Okay.
So alternative use and whether or not there's alternative locations.
And you see, there could be an alternative use for that land if the plan fell through for whatever is going to be developed, and then there could be another business decide that that's a perfect location for the business I'm planning to start. And so there is no absolute 100% guarantee of what will be on that land. Am I not correct?
That is correct.
100% guarantee of what's going to be there? Not yet. There will be another opportunity when a plan is developed and presented. It will come back to us as a planning commission. It'll have to get past us first. But that's, as Judy said, that's down the road. And, you know, I don't know what's going to happen between now and the time they or another company decides that they would like that and present a plan. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and it does lead me to another one.
Oh, darn.
How would this impact alternative land designation if the council were to approve it as designated blight substandard?
Are you asking about, go ahead, Judy.
So if you're asking about if they approve this and no project occurs, is that what you're asking? Or if they approve this and?
Sure, no project, yeah, it would be for the case if no project were approved, how difficult would it be to change it to a conservation easement or a designated wildlife area?
Yeah, I mean, those are options that could possibly happen. Blighted and substandard, and a blighted and substandard area doesn't have to remain blighted and substandard forever. So if, for example, we approved this as a blighted and substandard area and it got approved and nothing happened for 10 years because this possible proposed project fell through and say nothing happened there, it's possible that we could decide, well, you know what, nothing's occurring there, why are we using up this certain percentage of property as blighted and substandard and remove it and go to a different area. Is that what you're asking?
I think that answers my question to some degree.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else? Because if when I let her speak, that's going to be the last speaker.
All right, so as we're processing, Ronna Enfield again, 1122 Sandstone. So city owns the land, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you selling it to the developers? Or are you going to remain in control of the ground? Are they leasing the land to build upon?
No, they are not going to be leasing the land.
They bought the property.
I don't know that
Not
they've
yet.
bought it yet, as far as I know, but that is, yes, from what I understand.
But the community will have the right to know if they're purchasing the whole ground or if the city maintains possession of the ground and we could be liable. How much is this gonna cost the taxpayers? You're blighting land so they can obtain money to actually build their investment property, but are we gonna pay? How much are we paying to?
If a project does occur, the city will not own the property.
So they're selling it to
project
them.
would
And it's
purchase
gonna
the
be public
property.
notice how much you're selling it for.
That, I do not know, that should be in the redevelopment plan, if that does move forward. You will have a lot of information in that redevelopment plan that will tell you how all the money's gonna be
I think
spent,
there's a lot of us
that
that
sort of thing.
opposing the blight for this property, especially with all the wildlife. And if somebody can come along and preserve land, which in real estate, you can't make land, it's valuable. And you're gonna heavy industrial, destroys it. I mean, it destroys everything around it. I don't think it's blighted. If you want somebody that's gonna come along and have, a viable business that can preserve the land and the wildlife and their habitat. So I'm concerned about if you're blighting something so that they can obtain money to build something that they're gonna profit from abundantly, and then we're gonna have to pay taxes. What's the taxes gonna be to us for that property? That should be made public. And I'd like to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Unless someone has a burning desire, I will remind you that should this develop, should things fall into place, that I would expect to see all of you back here when we have a public hearing on the next process. But I want to say that I really appreciate your being here. I think all of us do. We have questions, and yet we have to operate as planning commission members. And so please don't go egg my house if something happens, et cetera, or any of the commission members, and I know you wouldn't do that anyway. Well, I don't know, there might be. But I just we appreciate your interest in what's going on and your questions. The more that the city officials can answer, city council members can answer, we can answer, the better off we're going to be as a community. And I've lived in this community for almost 56 years, and so I know a lot of what you people are saying also, of what you are saying. And so I appreciate your being here. Thank you for that, and maybe we'll see you here again. At that point, I believe we are ready for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Travis, second was Nelson. Roll call vote.
Jet,
Yes.
McGann,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bain. Oh, sorry. Winder,
Yes.
Davies,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
and Cruz.
Yes.
Okay, the public hearing is closed. And again, Planning Commission, feel free to speak. We won't take any more comments from the public, and please do not address the public. But you can talk amongst yourselves.
We heard so much.
We heard so much. Yes, we did. Yes, we
Almost
did.
information overload.
Lots in.
I am not cooking for supper, Mr. Weber. What are you cooking for supper?
I'm afraid I have a wife just like you.
Good, I'm glad. You deserve it.
Okay, I lost my resolution, so I must have
I have
handed
it.
it out.
What do you need?
Just the resolution. So basically, I was just gonna go through again, and like,
Yeah.
Mr. Hurt said, we heard a lot. And the thing that you have to remember as a planning commission is we are here to determine whether or not this property, based off of this study, should be determined blight and substandard. And the resolution that you're going to either pass or deny basically states the property as presented in the study meets the requirements of being declared substandard. The property as presented in the study meets the requirements to be declared blighted. The factors necessary to declare the property blighted and substandard are sufficiently distributed to impact development across the entire site. The development of this property to its full potential is in the best interest of the city of North Platte and the entire region, and there are projects ready to develop in this area if they can meet the financial goals of the developers. Those are the only things you are looking at. And you were provided with the actual study that was done by a professional consultant. You were also provided with the community redevelopment law as per state statute as to the definitions of blighted and substandard. So that is all that you are concerned with. Whether or not what that project is of no bearing other than, is this property able to be declared blighted and substandard? That's my speech.
Can we move then?
As long as there aren't any comments or questions.
Anybody?
Ready for a motion then?
All right. I move to approve the resolution and recommend adoption of the City of North Platte, Nebraska redevelopment area number 4, blight and substandard study prepared by Hannah Keelan Associates PC and approval of related actions.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Travis, seconded by Don. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Cruz.
Yes.
Jett.
Yes.
McGann.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Winder.
Yes.
Davies.
Yes.
And Hurt.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. The resolution will be passed on to the city council. There will be another public hearing at the city council on April 6th. And yes, it will be as long as this one, because every item that was on here will be on there. That's it?
Well, that's it for that one. We are not done with the agenda. We do have old business, and did you get an opportunity to participate in the planning sessions out of Kearney on Zoom?
NPZA Zoom.
Yes.
Did you learn anything?
I made notes that I was going to share, but I forgot those in my office. But I really enjoyed the legislative update. I thought that was pretty fascinating.
Good. If you have things you would like to share, maybe our meeting next month will be a little shorter.
Yeah.
And we could spend some time, because there are some things that we might want to share with each other that you learned. Oh,
Actual plans.
great.
More than likely.
Any other old business? None? Well, we have some new business.
We do.
Travis, would you like to tell us what's happening in your life?
Yes, unfortunately, I am moving to Omaha, and I have to resign my position. So what that means is, Brandon and Judy will have to decide who is my replacement on this council or this commission, but we also need one of you lucky guys or ladies
Very
to be
good.
to be the new liaison to the county planning commission.
I'll do it.
It's as fun as it sounds.
Oh, he already volunteered.
See?
Wow.
We got
Thank
Lee.
you.
I nominate Lee.
I will second that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very similar, but it's a whole different ballgame there.
When's it mean?
They're on like what are we, the fourth Tuesday? They're the second Tuesday
Yeah,
of the month.
we're the second Tuesday of the month,
And it's at the courthouse.
5:30.
At 5:30?
As a side note, I know that people will be contacting you or calling you and all that kind of thing.
They're egging my house.
No, they're not egging.
Can
your
I
house.
just say?
They're going to egg anybody's. I'd prefer it's yours.
Well,
But I think it would be
no, they have
wise.
to clean it up before Nelson.
Can I just say, as being a realtor in this town, I've gotten a lot of phone calls because my number is very public.
I'm glad you've gotten the phone calls. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
I've gotten quite a few.
Good. But use the resources that we have to find out the answers, because we don't want to be the ones who would be saying something that maybe isn't quite true. So I would just encourage you to call Judy, call Gary Pearson,
Yep.
and find out exactly what that might be. And a lot of it is we don't know yet.
My door is always open. I know you can contact Matt, to the city administrator, myself, Gary Pearson. You can probably contact your council people. they may or may not have more information than you do.
Yeah.
So,
I know I personally have passed along the information that Judy provided in response to David's email. And
Yes.
I have sent that to about 7 people today.
Yes.
To let them know
Yeah.
what our role in this process is.
I don't know, yeah, I did the same, this was cut and dried, like you stated, that was great at the beginning.
Yeah, that was great information
Yeah.
to answer people with when they asked.
That
us
cut out, I
something.
think, a lot of people.
yeah.
And we will hear from them.
Yeah.
If
We
there's,
will.
if the
Absolutely.
development plan is submitted, we will hear from them.
Maybe next month.
And our lucky city council members in the audience here get
It
a
was-
taste
it
of what they
was
get
good
to have
see
in
the
a
city council.
month, so.
Yes.
See, there you go.
So we can be home watching it on YouTube. All right, let's see, is there anything else that we need to do tonight? Judy?
thanks, Keith. Are you still there?
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't
He might
blame
have
him.
hung up.
Meeting
I don't think
adjourned.
so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can turn your mics off.
Holy cow.
Yes.
Okay.
So Todd, before you get out of here,
Well, Maryland, I think there's some restaurants still open.
let's go bother Hector.